I'm recording.
The next few moments, I am having a football experience.
That would be so funny.
Okay. 3, 2. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Experience Football, new podcast, but pretty similar hosts that you're pretty familiar with if you followed us along. Jake Shavink, Nate Williamson with me here as well, as Nate's getting the word out that we are recording because I saw the notification come up on my phone.
First mention, and I'm already on my phone.
Yeah, already. First episode, Nate's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to my phone. So, yeah, Nate's here with me, Jake. This is going to be fun. We've done a lot of football podcasts before. I don't think any are going to top this one. It's our newest one. But, yeah, Experience Football. We are on Twitter at experience_FTBL. So, follow us there. But, yeah, I figured we'd come on to start things off with basically what this podcast is going to be, what's it going to look like. And what's really nice is obviously we're going to be covering the NFL, college football, a load of the NFL draft. It might be year-round with the NFL draft. Who knows? But I think NFL draft is going to probably be the main focus. We'll throw NFL in there. Right now, we're going through summer scouting, so we've got to catch up and make sure we're ready for you guys before we start talking prospects. And I don't know, Nate, if you want to say what's up. Obviously, I've been introing for a long time. But you want to talk about summer scouting, talk about what this podcast is going to be as well.
I mean, yeah, I think people are pretty familiar with what we like to do and how we like to get it done. It's going to be, a way that's not only fun, but comes in and hopefully provides some good insight and hopefully some laughs. That's what I'm all about. Enjoy your life, live it. So I think we'll have a lot of that here in conjunction with obviously the other stuff we're doing over at Experience It YouTube and all of that. We'll get those links and those ads and whatever have you up for another time. But for now, I think looking forward, we're going to be heading into one of the strangest football seasons, I hate to say this, if there is one. We're going to be heading into one of the weirdest ones ever, probably the weirdest one ever. Speaking from an avid soccer fan, watching games with empty stadiums, for soccer, it's hard enough. For football, it's going to be really, really weird.
Weird is the best word.
Because we have had empty stadiums in soccer, because frequently when there's problems, because, you're a little intense, there's empty stadiums as a punishment. But it's going to be everybody. And we've never seen that in American football before. And let me tell you, it's weird. It's
and
weird.
I feel like
talk about that and whatnot.
Yeah, I feel like we're sitting here right now, and it's like, well, football season's pretty up in the air, even the season itself. Now, do I think the NFL will play? Absolutely. I highly doubt, with all the money they make, that they're not going to try and do this. They have the resources to really let it run here, even if they have to, in theory, cancel some preseason games. If going forward, and to make sure it starts in September, or if indeed we cut into some of the regular season. But I think the pro circuit will play. College, we'll see, because Clemson's got a lot of cases. There's a lot going on with that. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to predict exactly how this is going to all go, because honestly, we kind of thought we had that curve, however much credit you give it one way or another. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that, but whether you do, whether you don't, the quarantining is real. The social distancing, that's real, and something that we're all doing, whatever side of it you fall on. So hopefully along the way, we can at least give some good commentary. Even should we not have an NCAA season, we're still going to see these guys. It's just going to be a completely different process. And I'm hoping not, because I want to get down to the Senior Bowl, especially now that Illinois might actually have a couple players worthy of it. And plus, I'm an LSU fan, so I'm looking to go back to back. I'm not looking to be a champion for no reason for another year. I think that would be an Alabama move. They want that. I'm just going to call out all the Alabama fans right off the bat.
Wow. All right. So already Alabama fans are going to hate this podcast. That's good to know. but yeah, I mean, the draft process will be completely different. We'll be wading through it, something that we've never seen before, if indeed it happens. And I'm obviously we're praying it does not happen, but social distance, wear a mask, do what you got to do to make sure that we get this thing going, and it can happen, even if it's in a shorter capacity. So, but obviously, on a lighter note, we're here to cover all that stuff. We're here to cover all the fun stuff. I think we're going to record later this week. Obviously, talking about a certain quarterback that's signed with a certain team. That should be fun. But right now, we're going to talk about the project that we put together, which I think is just awesome, and we had a blast doing. It stemmed from ESPN, which did a 4-round startup draft if every player was available. And some of the teams were a little interesting. There was one team that took 2 running backs in 4 rounds. Not sure what that is. Not sure how that's a plan, but we decided, you know what? We want to do it better.
Journalism.
Yeah, we want to do it better. So we decided to do 28 rounds. We wanted to do 30, but we got 28 in. Just an incredible group of guys that we put together. Again, can't thank them enough. Can't thank, a few of them that come to mind. Brandon Daniels, Coach Jebs did a lot of work in keeping things on task, letting people know when they're on the clock, when sometimes even I didn't, even though I was trying to watch as much as I could. Just for the guys, if we didn't mention you, who really kept the thing going as well, and really kept pushing people to get their picks in. That was big, because we did 28 rounds in about 9 days or so.
Yeah,
which is just incredible.
It was insane.
So again, kudos to everybody with that project. And what's awesome is we are now going to have people on over the next several weeks to talk about their team, what their ideology process was to build their team up from the beginning. Obviously, it's going to be different because, Nate picked 13th. Is that right?
I believe. Yes.
And I picked 27th. So our team's philosophy is going to look different based on where we picked. And so that's what's really cool. We'll obviously have people on here who had the chance to select Mahomes and Watson, and all these quarterbacks, up at the top. But then you have people who had to build differently based on what board came to them. So that's what's really cool. And Nate and I are going to talk about our teams here shortly. But just having that, and so we're going to have people on to talk about their teams. It's going to be a blast to hear what the thought process was. So, with that said, Nate, let's talk about our teams. Because, Nate, you rolled with the Saints, who had the 13th overall pick.
I just realized how long it took me to pick a quarterback.
Same.
It was
like around 23 for me or something. But,
yeah.
And I was the Dolphins at the 27th overall pick. Also, we did a random order in the draft, which was so much fun to do. We did a little random order live show, which I thought was fun, announcing the pick order. That was fun. So, yeah, Nate, if you want to start and talk about, your team, how you built it, or, a couple of the first picks, you can talk about that to start.
So I think just first off, it's worth mentioning we'll eventually have these lists. Probably just if you want to see the picks, you can just search it on Twitter. Pretty easy, but they're all in a thread. So
yeah, I'll try to drop my team like a tweet with a picture of my team.
That's kind of what I figured too.
And then you can probably do that if you haven't, and then we can link that in the description for this video so that people can see the teams.
Yeah, I just figured I was going to throw that out there. I didn't mean to derail, but I started out my entire backbone of my team. I am a huge guy. If you've listened to us for any amount of time, I am a huge guy for the huge guys. I love offensive line, defensive line. I think it's because I always wanted to be over 6 foot tall and never got there. I got close, don't worry. But and these guys that are coming in, they're huge. It's just so fun to watch for me. And the technicality, they're like giant elephant ballerinas. So I really built a lot based on that. And there's a lot of value there that's a little bit older that'll sit. And I figured, hey, we're going to take some of these guys a little bit later on that are still really, really good and still really productive, but for a couple of years. But that being said, I started off with offense just kind of because of what fell to me there on the board. Like we said, a lot of quarterbacks went really fast, which
They did.
It's not that surprising. And you were expecting that to happen. And in that, there's going to be some mediocre quarterbacks that went off the board. And there definitely were.
I would say so.
My opinion, that shouldn't be up that high. So I went with a running back. I think to the surprise of quite a few people, I took Christian McCaffrey. He's
Sure
young.
did.
He's like 24 or something ridiculous. He is not only a running back, but is a wide receiver. He's a blocker. He's just incredible. He's incredible all around. And when you have Sean Payton, you're really looking to unleash the tactical aspects of that offense and build in an interesting way. So I passed on taking any of the top tackles that early because I do think that there's some quality depth there. But obviously we'll be able to address that later. But really first, I mean, I'm looking at it. If we're counting tight ends as big guys, 3 of my first 5 picks are big guys. So that's kind of the mentality that I went with. I know you were a little bit later, so I'm interested I never really asked because we were kind of competing against each other at the same time.
It was hard because it was funny because Nate's on the clock and he was on vacation. So, I was kind of like trying to let him know when he was on the clock soon. And he's like, oh, who's available? And the competitor in me was like, I'm not telling you if Henry Ruggs is available.
Oh,
or anything like that when he took Henry Ruggs, which I should have taken him instead of who I took. But it was kind of like, it was that way for most people. And I feel like I was kind of like, oh, if they mention the guy that's available that I want, fine. But I'm not going to tell them they're available. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about the way I started, at 27, I was like, all right, I'm not going to quarterback. Basically, I was thinking I'm going to take the 2 best secondary players I can get. That was my original thought process. Pass coverage to start, which is a hot debate right now, pass coverage versus pass rush. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I think I can get Tre'Davious White and Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then, of course, Dan Kiefer, screw ya, took Tre'Davious White at 21. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So completely flipped on that. I was like, all right, so now if TJ Watt gets to me, I'm taking him, period. He's a phenomenal player. Pretty young. I think 24, 25 or something like that he is right now. So, and that was the other thing. I went young. I went as young as I could, build a young core. Let's get after it. So I went with TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick as my first 2 picks.
He is 25.
25. So you got 25-year-old TJ Watt and you have 23, 24-year-old Minkah Fitzpatrick to start my team off. I'm like, all right, feel good, young core. Obviously, Smitty, who participated in this from around the 4-2, which is a Pittsburgh podcast. Steelers guy, he was already on board with my team, putting Steelers together in Miami. But, yeah, and I went defense the first 4 picks, I believe, and then I just hammered the offensive line as well, as Nate said. So that was kind of my philosophy was, all right, we're building defense, and on offense, it's from the ball out, period. Obviously not including quarterback because I waited, I believe, until like round 23 to take my quarterback.
Yeah.
22?
It's down there. Wait, I know how to tell really easily.
21.
Yeah, 21.
21
to 54, so yeah, 21.
So 21 and 22, I should say. I took 2 quarterbacks back to back. But we'll get there. So Nate, I mentioned my first 2. If you want to mention a couple more and you want to go down.
So I kind of hinted, we'll just go 2 or 3 at a time, however the flow dictates. I started off with Christian McCaffrey, of course, and then right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, outside of quarterback, what do we need? Okay, somebody protect Christian McCaffrey. He's never had a great team around him, truthfully. It's been moderate, if best. Nothing that really uses him in the right way, though, in my opinion, even though he's still been absolutely ridiculous. So I guess prove me wrong, whatever. But so we got a tackle here, Ryan Ramczyk. The Saints actually, we went
really good pick
with a hometown pick, but he's one of the top 10 tackles. He's one of the younger top 10 tackles in that list as well.
Yeah.
The Saints proper, they're good. And that's why I think a lot of my picks, not a lot, but 3 or 4 are current Saints players or former Saints players that I really wish they'd hung on to. And Ryan Ramczyk's one that I could see them holding on to the length of his entire career, the way they do with offensive line. So it'll be interesting. But Ryan Ramczyk was the second pick.
Yeah, I like that. As soon as you said, "Oh, I have like 4 Saints," I went down. I'm like, I'm figuring out how many Saints he has now
I'd have to look, but
that have played for the Saints. I believe it is 6.
yeah,
But
that
we'll
should
get to
be
that
about
later.
right, I would think.
So who'd you come back with after
So
that?
after that, I got made fun of for this, but I took 2 Saints right back to back.
They're
Because they
good
just
though.
came around and I wanted to address the other side of the ball.
Mm.
And I thought most of the top corners, they went really, really fast. Were gone. So I was going to wait on those to get some younger guys that I like the upside of. Which actually my first secondary pick was a couple picks later in the safety spot. But so I went defensive.
Oh no, you took a corner in the 4th.
Oh, I did, didn't I? Sorry, I
Yeah,
looked
you
over
did.
that. So it
But
was
anyway,
one pick later.
go ahead.
But Cam Jordan, the Saints, he's 3 sacks from the Saints rushing record currently. He's insane. He's a glue guy in that locker room. Everybody at the organization absolutely loves him. I think second to when Ben Watson was on the team, that he was the biggest locker room presence and the biggest motivator in that locker room. So he's another guy that's going to come back at no shame at all. You got to keep those defensive coordinators happy, man, or they'll walk out on you.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Yeah, 3rd round for me. So after Watt and Fitzpatrick, I was like, all right, I need a shutdown corner. He's getting up. He's close to 30, which I understand. But I went Patrick Peterson, and I felt like the value was really good there for him to start up and be a shutdown corner. I love the 2 guys that I grabbed later to pair with him. And obviously Minka's there. So I felt good about Minka and Patrick Peterson. And then maybe it was a little bit of reach going D tackle in round 4, but I just loved who Kenny Clark is right now, and he's super young. I believe he's still 23, and it's wild because his contract is up. He was 20 when the Packers drafted him. So, like, again, super young. Loved what I saw. Loved what I've seen from Kenny Clark. A pick that I wasn't a huge fan of. I was like, oh, he's good. You know, when Packers took him back when, I was like, oh, he's good, but is he a superstar? He's a superstar, at least in Green Bay right now, the way he can get off blocks. So I felt good about Watt, Clark, and Peterson Fitzpatrick. 4 players right away to start my defense, no offense at all.
It's interesting because looking at some of the people around me, I mean, just the one that I'm looking at right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive players in the first 5 rounds.
You want to talk about offense?
Yes.
The Chiefs took 10 offensive players to start.
Well, yeah, that adds up.
Didn't take a single defensive player to start the first 10 rounds.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was him who stole a couple players from me.
And then the Patriots took a lot of offense to start as well. So
that's actually who I was looking at when I said 5 in a row.
It was wild to see how many people took offense.
Yeah.
Hard offense. And then it was like me, and I think there was another guy. There were a couple others who went a lot of defense to start. So it was really interesting.
I tried to mix it in as well as I could. I literally had a chart up. I wasn't even ever on my computer hardly. I was obviously on vacation. I wasn't in vacation.
Vacation.
But
we're always in vacation mode.
I was in vacation. But so I like had a drawn up. I like spaced out the individual 11 players on both sides of the ball and was like, let's just try and fill this in. Did you say your
4th? I would do the next few, honestly, so we can keep this thing rolling.
We'll just go down the line. So after that, I went defense again, and we did kind of reveal my next pick was a secondary pick. I went Kyle Fuller. I like what he can do, and I liked where he was value-wise for what was left, which wasn't a lot of top tackles. I've always liked to watch Kyle Fuller. Obviously, we both live in Illinois. I know Jake watches the Bears in hatred. I have family members that actually like the Bears. So I've seen him work a little bit, and I even, with my tweeted one of his highlight videos, and he's really got some ball hawk skills that I really like at the corner position.
But he did drop one interception that he should have had.
Yeah.
And Rodgers made him pay.
He did.
It's my favorite thing. So sorry, Kyle Fuller. Your game is you've played really well so far to start your career. Big fan of your game.
Somewhere else you'll like him. That's kind of how it goes.
Right.
That's kind of how you have to
be.
But, yeah,
exactly. We're all fans of these players. We got to think about
a lot, and he's 28, so he's a little bit older, but not really old at all. He's still right in the prime of his physical. I don't know what the word is, but he's at peak physicality right now. So that was a good look. And then after that, I was really happy with this one. I got ahead of the curve. when it came to tight ends and drafted the 29-year-old Zach Ertz, which is a lot of fun. That's a great weapon. You got Zach Ertz and Christian McCaffrey in the same offense already, with somebody there at the tackle spot to protect whoever we eventually pull up, which we'll talk about, of course. And there was a lot of value left at this spot, but I saw him up there, and I was thinking I pretty much had my pick except for maybe one or two. I think Kelsey might have been gone, but I don't remember entirely.
Kelsey was a second-round pick.
Yeah, I'm sure
I do remember that.
Which is interesting, but
got paired with Rodgers.
Of tight ends is a whole nother discussion.
Got paired with Rodgers.
Yeah, so, that makes sense.
Which was awesome.
Oh yeah, he's right in front of me with the Patriots.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I took Zach Ertz. I like it. We're bringing, I think his wife's name's Julie Ertz. She's a U.S. soccer player. We're bringing her on to be our kicker, also unofficially. So that's pretty cool. I talked to them. Definitely, they DM'd me after he got picked.
Definitely in the works.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. But after him, just keep it rolling. Keanu Neal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Safety. That's what I'm really excited about. I do believe he was injured this past season pretty roughly. But at 24 years old and already having the kind of numbers and stats that he's put up since coming out of Florida, I love him. He's at like 6'1", and in the safety spot, he's just going to be back there securing whatever gets past Kyle Fuller. So that's going to be a lot of fun to have him back there in the secondary. And then after that, I'm trying to think. Hold on, I got to pull this back up. We went and took tackle spot again because I wanted to really capstone the two tackle positions. So we went Dwayne Brown, and that's one that I'm like sneakily excited about at this point because – he is 34, yes, but he is super solid and super dependable. He's one of the guys that comes in at like 6'4", but is just like an absolute rock in a bowling ball. And I'm super excited for that tackle pairing because not only can Ramczyk continue to learn like he has from former Saints and current Saints, he's going to continue to learn from Dwayne Brown, and that offensive line is coming together pretty nicely already. So I think that was 3. So
yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah, that's fine. And then you can talk about your rookies on the way back. Yeah, I mean, I like that. I think Ertz was a solid pick there. Yeah, I mean, so I came back. So I had Watt, Fitzpatrick, Peterson, and Clark. And I was like, all right, it's time to offensive line build. And I actually did that a lot with my next 3 picks. And, again, were they reaches? Maybe a little bit. But, again, this was about building a young team that I felt good about, going forward for quite some time. And I hope that seemed pretty clear in the first 4 picks. I know Peterson's getting a little bit up there, but I was willing to take that risk because he's been kind of the Julio of cornerbacks, I feel like. Everybody's always like, who's the next best corner? And it's like, well, Patrick Peterson continues to do it at this level. And everybody's same thing with Julio. It's like, who's the best receiver in the league? And still Julio, I feel like is. But, again, I know that's up for debate. But, again, he's been as consistent as ever. So, came back in the 5th, went Elgton Jenkins, another Packer. I mean, incredible first season with Green Bay. And looks like he's going to be Pro Bowler for 10 years. So I'm like, all right, feel good about that as my left guard. Then I came back. Jonah Williams missed a full season with the Bengals. Still believe that he can be a left tackle. Super young. Excited to put him on, yes, the outside. People who want him to play center and guard. Yeah, I'm playing him at tackle. Anyway. Not that he couldn't be good at center or guard.
They clearly didn't watch him before he came out.
Listen, the Cleveland Furl rep apparently scared people for some reason. Not like, people get beat.
Oh, by the way. Cleveland Furl, he's really bad.
He's bad. He went 4th overall. Anyway.
Yeah, seriously.
So Jonah Williams, Elgton Jenkins on my left side. Then I came back again and went Cody Ford, who I think is a very underrated young tackle for the Bills. Plays the right side. Felt good about that. The 8th round. We're going to talk about Nate's 8th round pick. I should have taken Henry Ruggs here. Don't know why I didn't. But I went with the downhill thumper in Rashaan Evans for my defense. Again, I think his instincts are off the charts. I think he's been excellent in Tennessee. So I felt good about adding him to what I feel like is a very young and good defense. Take it away, Nate.
Well, so after speaking of young and good, I actually went 2 rookies in a row.
2 really good ones.
Yeah, 2 really fun rookies that I think most teams would have taken right back to back. And I know a couple of them. If you were going to put this, so let's just say you could offer them up on the trade block as a pair. I think you're going to have a lot of offers for them. The first one is one that I know Jake was really referring to right now, Henry Ruggs. So we got our first true blue wide receiver to pair. So right now, Christian McCaffrey, Zach Ertz, Henry Ruggs, plus that offensive line, and we're building the nice little slot for whoever comes in at quarterback later. And then after that, we actually flipped to the other side of the ball and went Patrick Queen at the linebacker spot and kind of started to fill in the center of that defense. We got an edge, we have a corner, we have a safety. Logical step, let's go with a linebacker. So 2 rookies off the board for me, and I think the 8th and 9th round, respectively.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that, again, for 8th and 9th round, I'll go to, I believe, 9th and 10th. We'll try to keep it rolling. Again, we may not go through all of them at the end. We'll maybe just talk about our units.
Some of them are kind of bleh.
Yeah. I will say I feel good about my 9th round pick in Kenny Moore, 23-year-old for the Colts, who's great instincts, good ball skills at the corner spot. I think this is going to be his breakout year, and people are going to know who he is. And having him to be able to play outside and in the slot is excellent when you have Minka, who can come down and play some slot as well. I know I want to keep him on the back end a lot of the time, but I'd like that versatility and obviously the versatility with Kenny Moore. Then I came back, took myself a tight end who I love, okay? Love this kid, TJ Hawkinson. Feel really good about that. Almost another offensive lineman, the way he blocks. And I feel like I can't wait to see him healthy again with the Lions this year. I think he's a great player. So, yeah, was really excited about that as well. Yeah, take it away, Nate.
I think that was
or just talk about units the rest of the way.
The key to the rest of it.
Let's just talk quarterbacks when we took quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Because we haven't even sniffed one yet.
No, we definitely had.
Go ahead.
My next couple picks I was pretty happy with. Kyle Van Noy obviously has been a force for the Patriots recently. And if you can use him creatively, I think he brings a lot to a team. And Greg Williams, Sean Payton in that defense, it's going to be really fun for them to use him in whatever way they really please, especially
for sure
alongside Patrick Queen. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Already a couple different ways to get to the backfield. We've got Van Noy, we've got Jordan, and obviously Keanu Neal playing strong that can come down in certain packages. But after that, it was James Daniels. We went back and went to the offensive line again, which, that is just kind of important to me. He's literally 22 years old, which is just insane.
Guard center versatility right there.
Yeah, and I think at this point I wanted Cesar Ruiz, but somebody either took him like the round before or something very close to that.
Yes, it was starting to get about round 11, 12 where we started people like, is this guy available? No, he's gone. And so we had that kind of cycle throughout the draft where it was
tough. It was tough, but
so it made it a little more difficult.
I like the ability to move him around, and I think he's already pretty good, and he's really young. So bringing him up especially is going to be a lot of fun. And this offensive line really coming together already. After that, I took another running back. We'll leave that
inadvertently.
What it is. It wasn't on purpose. We'll just leave it at that. If you guys want to hear that story, all you have to do is ask. We'll tell you. After that, Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins at the corner spot, Gerald McCoy at the DT. So started to work a little bit more on that defense again.
And then it got interesting.
Yeah, and then it got interesting. So I'll actually let you go through yours, and then when we get there, I'll talk about
Okay, so I'm trying to decide whether I roll through these picks or I want to talk about the quarterbacks. So my next few picks, I really enjoyed how I did in these middle rounds. Like I said, after Hawkinson, I went Mecole Hardman as my first receiver. Speed. That was the theme for my wide receiver position, by the way. Small dudes with speed. So I'm just going to roll through what I had at the wide receiver position. Now we'll kind of try to just traverse through positions a little bit. I went with Mecole Hardman and Christian Kirk and John Ross as my receivers. They're all small, but they're all fast.
Who is going to be able to guard that? Unless they just swallow them up at the line all the time.
And that's the thing. It's swallowed up at the line. But what I love is I just go into 12 personnel with TJ Hawkinson and Cameron Brate.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. I did get Cameron Brate a lot later, which I like at tight end. After Mecole, I went Christian Wilkins. Young DT. Oh, man, I'm excited to see what he does in his second year. So Christian Wilkins and Kenny Clark. Yes, sir. Oh, we're going to have some fun with those two. And then I went Byron Murphy, another young corner who I think was cornerback 1 in his class, who Arizona got the start of the second round in that draft. So I felt good about that. And so I had Murphy, Kenny Moore, and Patrick Peterson. Inadvertently took a lot of Cardinals, which was weird.
Young
But
building. You were looking for a young team with.
I was going young, and that was what I really wanted to do, and I think I did that pretty well overall, and really got a good quarterback system. But I'll let Nate talk about his quarterbacks first.
Yeah, so I actually
And then
finally
we'll talk about
touched one. I think it's round 15. Actually, I actually touched a quarterback, and I went ahead and took Nick Foles. For now, he serves as that kind of guy that you get him on the steal, you get him where he's at. See how he does this first year. He could be really good. He's got a lot of weapons around him, and he's a smart guy. So when you have Christian McCaffrey there, yeah, you're going to be run heavy either way. So quarterback was a little bit down my priorities, but somebody who can give him the ball and let him go, as well as using the speed of Henry Ruggs and the tight end and Ertz and all that was really big for me. And no matter who we slot in behind this offensive line, they're at least going to have a fighting chance. And that's one thing that the Saints have learned in the past, which is kind of why I modeled it this way with Teddy Bridgewater. However Teddy does this next season, obviously wish him well, but he had a great offensive line in front of him. He had a lot of good weapons. Well, one good weapon in Mike Thomas and a banged-up Alvin Kamara.
I would say Jared Cook was big time.
Jared Cook turned it on towards the middle to end of the season when Teddy was there. Mm-hmm. That's fair. And so Nick's going to slide in, and worst comes to worst, we're looking at 2021 for a quarterback, and we're still building young. So those guys will come back around if they know they've got 4. And then you want me to go into my next?
I want you to talk about the other 2 quarterbacks you took. And yes, I'm talking about the guy next as well. If you want to use him at quarterback,
well, I'll go through the actual quarterback system. So
talk about your quarterback room after Foles, please.
Quarterback 2 coming in and going to be probably eventually quarterback 1 of some team. IRL market now. I'm team Jarrett Stidham. I think there's a very good chance that Cam Newton, just as injured as he's been, he eventually has to see Stidham out there on the field.
Could be.
And it'll be interesting to watch. That's for sure. I thought Stidham was the clear starter. I'm willing to die on this hill. And I like Stidham, especially coming in as a QB2. He can learn. He's already worked with Bill Belichick. Now he's going to come work with Sean Payton. So that's not a bad step over. And then obviously
that's the other thing.
The entire freaking draft, people were
the entire chat went nuts.
Yeah. I was being told.
I went nuts when you did this.
For rounds and rounds. From round 1, basically. Taysom Hill coming back to the Saints. With this cast of weapons, oh boy, this is going to open up a lot for him. And if you've got a guy that can get him the ball, whether you put him out there in a wildcat, whether you put him out there lined up in a wide receiver spot, he's going to have a lot of fun. And I know he wants to play quarterback, but, at this point, you've got him on a franchise tag. Or is he? Yeah, no, wait. He's a restricted free agent, but so he's signed and he's coming back for at least a little bit before and just another weapon, another all-around weapon. You can move him around with Christian McCaffrey. You can do just a lot with this offense, and it gives Sean Payton the creativity that he wants, especially once we steal Joe Brady back, but that's for another podcast. So that's my quarterback room.
It's a fun quarterback room. Round 21 is where I took my first quarterback. I went Ben Roethlisberger, which Smitty immediately was like he wants to be a Dolphins fan with this team that I've put together, and I'm honored. But yeah, Ben Roethlisberger gets to work with what I think is a very solid young offensive line. Like I mentioned, Ford, Williams, and Jenkins. Weston Richburg is my center. He's only 28. So he's the seasoned vet of the group at 28. But I love that I got him where I did in the middle rounds. And again, like I said, Kirk, Ross, and Hardman at wide receiver with Brayton Hawkinson at tight end. And Ben loves to use the tight ends, and I felt really good about that. Then I came right back and said, you know what? Let's take a chance on Mr. Jalen Hurts, okay? Just as a guy who I think's, one of those guys who could have that Nick Foles-like career where if he end up being a backup, I think he will stick a lot of places and he could spot start and ignite a team. And I really think that Hurts has that Foles-like one, he's got the persona for sure to lead a locker room. Two, he throws a pretty solid deep ball, and he's a quick distributor too. And so I think in an offense, that's got an offensive line that can protect him. It's got weapons. I did get a running back late in Damian Williams, who I think may have gotten jobbed for Super Bowl MVP, by the way.
Running backs.
He was close to being MVP, I think.
I'm surprised we even include them in awards.
Yeah, but anyway, Damian Williams at running back. So I get there's a lot of weapons for Hurts to come in when Roethlisberger retires, and if Hurts doesn't end up being the guy, we obviously have a quarterback need, but we have a team that we feel good about around him. So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if my team has a ton of holes necessarily. I think there are a couple, but we'll move on to that. Nate, where do you feel like your team is lacking the most?
I think we've got a lot of young guys that aren't super proven. And we kind of have this overall good, but there's not a bunch of places where it screams great. And that's kind of what you get with these drafts, because you do have these top players go off all in the first 3 rounds.
Right.
Everybody knows the great players. It's about finding the mid-tier players that people don't know about. And the lower tier players that can become those top tier players. So I think my biggest weakness will be not potential, but actuality, and how it all comes together, and maybe overall average to good, but not greatness, which can sometimes hurt a team. I mean, you can have a core group of guys and nobody really spectacular to carry you through when moments that you need it. And we might have that problem, but you never know. I also think if we had to pick like a positional weakness, it'd probably be in the secondary.
Okay. Remind me what your secondary is.
It's not really even worth reminding you about, truthfully, outside of Fuller, Neal.
Oh, no, you got to tell me what the secondary is that I'm working with here.
Janoris Jenkins.
Oh, okay.
Trying to look down list. You have my list pulled up?
Fuller. Yeah, you have Fuller, Keanu Neal, and Jordan Whitehead are your safeties, by the way. So Neal and Whitehead are at safety. You have Witherspoon, Jenkins, and Fuller at corner.
Yeah.
So I can see that being maybe
which is not a great
potential
weakness to have, but
I would say so. If Nate's team was looking toward the 2021 draft, I really believe Nate would be looking at a corner.
Yeah.
And potentially, probably, honestly, defensive tackle as well would be my other thing.
I'm not a huge fan of this upcoming edge class either, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Oh, what do you have at edge?
Cam Jordan and, well, technically Van Noy will rush off the other side, but –
oh, snap. You kind of do need edge.
Yeah.
Not that I have your last 3 picks up there, but –
yeah, and I mean –
edge could be a need.
There is options that, add more rounds, I would have filled that. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of the name.
It's true. We only went 28, so it's not like we had everything completely filled.
Like when you only have 28 there, and there's a lot of players that are going to be maybe 3/4 of every snap. Like they're going to be in there playing decent bit.
Yeah,
it's true. You get to like 45 or so.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that's really I think all that's super noteworthy on my team. I drafted Willie Snead as well. That's kind of my other wide receiver there when he sees the field, because we're going to have a lot of offensive weapons out there. But
yeah,
but I mean, other than that, I think that's it.
I think my team either it's going to be an edge, a second edge behind Watt, which I have Whitney Merciless, who's solid, but is getting up there. I think he's one of the 2 guys I drafted that was over 30. Him and Roethlisberger. I know Tony Jefferson, who's my other safety, and Patrick Peterson are close, but I think I only have 2 over 30 at the moment, in Roethlisberger and obviously Merciless. But after that, I took Josh Sweat as my third edge. Potential there, still young, not a lot of reps in Philly, so I think the potential was there. I liked him coming out, but not a lot there other than that. I think my secondary with Moore, with Murphy, with Peterson, Minka, Kayvon Wallace, who I took later, who I like, and then Jefferson. I feel good about the secondary. Probably wide receiver. If I were looking at the next draft with this team, I would probably want a bigger X type, like a Jamar Chase or a Tamorian Terry from Florida State. Somebody big, who can get the football. I was eyeing someone like Auden Tate in later rounds. Didn't get a chance to draft him. So I went double tight end, and I feel okay about that. Obviously, would have to draft for running back depth. But other than that, I feel pretty good. I'd probably attack interior line maybe a little bit more, but overall, I feel pretty good about where the team is at. So, yeah. Nate, any you think that I need?
My bad. There we go. That should
Uh-oh.
work now. I
Okay.
muted myself to cough. Technical difficulties, but no, I think you pretty much
Yeah.
hit it. A lot of the issues I think that we have, and we kind of built in a similar way, just in different order of priority for position, and me accepting age a little bit more, I think, as well. A lot of the problems that we had and that a lot of people have is when you do a draft like that, you're all on a pretty even playing field if you pick your team correctly. And you'll notice that if
Yeah.
you have a fantasy draft in Madden, the teams get a lot more competitive. And
They do.
if we could open like parallel timelines and just do this, it would be so fun. But I don't know if I'd want it to stay that way because I like the building process, and it would
The
make
building process is more fun than the playing process. It is so true.
yeah, it takes a lot more effort. So
Right.
but
But yeah, I mean, those are our teams. If you want us to, like we said, we'll probably put them up in like a picture graphic in the description. As yes, this will be on YouTube. Awesome. As well as Anchor and hopefully Spotify as well. To start off, so make sure you follow this because we're gonna have a lot of fun in the future with these. We're nowhere near done talking about this startup draft, but we're obviously gonna have different episodes in between those to talk about other things. I have an idea for Nate for Mock Draft Monday. That would be a lot of fun. So look for that potentially on Monday. But yeah, we're going to hopefully start lining up guests to talk about their teams. And we're going to post our teams probably pretty soon, either tonight or in the morning. Hopefully this podcast will go up Wednesday, but we'll see. Yeah. So, tell us what you think about our teams. And yeah, I mean, keep following along. This is going to be a lot more projects like this. I think is going to be what's going to be fun for us, as much as obviously covering the draft, which we love to do. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of different episodes. There's going to be a lot of different things that we do. So we're excited for it, and we hope you enjoyed this intro episode for Experience Football. Nate, anything you would like to say before we get out of here from this first episode?
No, basically just follow along, and we're going to keep cranking out content. We're going to have people on to talk about their different teams. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of good personalities coming on to talk about it for sure. So
we sure do.
And some antics planned for when they do.
We do.
We never let a guest come on without something up our sleeve. So, yeah.
Oh, there was one thing I wanted to ask you about your team. Why did you pass on Tua?
When specifically, or
the first
just
round? Because Smitty took him like 2 picks after you, I think, or something like that.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I probably wasn't even thinking about it. Not gonna lie.
Oh man,
I probably was.
I was gonna say like Tua was on the board. I was like,
No, I probably just wasn't thinking about it. I probably thought that he would have been gone or something. That's kind of what I figure.
Okay. Just was curious. It'll probably come up when Smitty comes on to talk to Steelers.
Yeah, it'll probably be
ask
one
you
of those
about why
things
that
where
happens.
at that point I was either looking somewhere else or I just didn't think he would be there. Because literally Joe Burrow went in like the first round. So
Burrow went 10th.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's just
young quarterbacks, man. Gotta take them.
Yeah. People take him all right.
I would take Burrow at 27. No doubt.
I wouldn't take him at 10.
I'd consider it.
No.
But I don't know. It's fun talking these philosophies, but I had to ask Nate that question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was probably more accidental than purposeful.
Okay. So, yeah, we do have, like I said, a lot going on. Experience It, our YouTube channel as well, where this, I believe, will be under it as part of it. Just we'll call it the Experience Football. We'll have all of our stuff in one spot there in a playlist, so you'll be able to find it all in one spot. But yeah, I mean, like I said, like the channel, subscribe if you can. It doesn't take very much effort, and we appreciate all of you that do that. So can't wait for episode 2 later this week. But yeah, until then, we will catch you later. See you guys.
Bye. Bye. Like and subscribe.